And a very good evening to you. This is NEWSLINE Live, and thanks, Tarsha. And our guest this evening is Mr. Kehlia Ramakwela. Very good evening to you.
Very good evening.
And I'd like to ask you straight from, let's start at the beginning, the information now in hand that the Elections Commission has informed the Supreme Court that there can be no election held on the 20th of June as planned.
Anyway, we sort of expected that, because as the court proceedings, took the time, and within that calculation we knew that there would be a postponement. Right. We really do not know till when, but to my recollection, if I'm right, when he cancels this day, so he postpones it, he'll have to fix the next date as well.
Right.
That's the Constitution, if I remember right. Yeah.
But with all...
sorry, not the Constitution, it's the Election Act.
Right. Yeah. But now with, let's say, a new date to hold elections, that you need about, about 10 to 11 weeks?
That's what they say. The requirement is after the nominations, minimum of 5 weeks and maximum of 7 weeks, and preferably on a Saturday. He has to fix a date. That's right. The normal.
So this takes us into about August.
Yes, if you calculate it from now.
Yeah.
I don't know how you give this. Now you have 20 days.
Yeah.
Right. So whether you give any credit to that 20 days, or you start from the 10th, or wait till the 20th and take your account for the minimum of 5 weeks, we do not know. It's right. Entirely in the hands of the Election Commission.
In all of this, what about the cost? The cost of having these elections? I think the Commissioner is on record is saying it's going to be cost at least double. Then you compare that with the current health requirement, with testing kits and so on and so forth. Where is the balance?
So you see, what happens is the cost of an election is the cost of democracy, right? And I really do not know how one can arrive at the figure that it'll double, yeah. Right? I have no idea as to why and how, but I have a feeling, I don't know, if I'm given the liberty to suggest something, yeah. I would suggest that we will take this opportunity, simplify this election procedure entirely, right? I feel that you're talking of the cost to the government, yeah. But the rest, every individual who spends sometimes 30, 40, 50, 100 million for elections. Yeah. Right? So if you can find a mechanism and a system, put a system in place where there are not going to be any malpractices, but have the right of voting in a proper way, but simplify the entire system.
But to simplify the entire system, successive governments, since independence really, have hardly put any real rules into place that will control election funding, for example.
Yes.
Political funding.
From time to time, I think there have been certain very progressive steps taken, because during Mr. Mahinda, Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa's period, yeah. I think this identity card was made mandatory and compulsory, right? And that really prevented a lot of issues on the day of the polling, right? That's one part of it, yeah. Right? And then as far as your question was the cost. Yes. Yeah, I'm with you, because that's what I said. If you can make use of this now, say there are so many things happening now. There are guidelines given how to hold weddings, yeah. Right? That's perhaps you cut down costs, and the funerals are taking place. I've been there, so that 24, 48 hours the most. So the things are changing, lifestyles are changing, things are getting adjusted, and you are experiencing something completely new, and I would say that we all have to adjust ourselves, and the lifestyle will have to be completely changed. And this is the ideal, golden opportunity. I always say that you have a bright silver line in a very dark cloud. Right. Make use of it.
Right. Well, this matters before the Supreme Court and so on. So let's wait for their opinion.
Yeah, but to be very honest, yeah. Before we went to courts, this has been discussed for and against.
Yeah.
I think never in the country before
Yeah.
we have had debates of this nature where you
Indeed.
see analysis
That's
of
all-
constitution, interpretation of
Yeah.
constitution.
The average Sri Lankan is probably a bona fide constitutional expert by now.
Yes.
But I want to bring you back to something quite current. Last night, or yesterday, we heard the President say that very sternly that if international organizations, any organization that disturbs or without basis continues to hound, if you like. He didn't use the word hound, but the intent was that. The tri-forces, then he would have no hesitation in withdrawing Sri Lanka from such organizations. Does this mean that the President is suggesting that Sri Lanka may well withdraw from organizations such as the United Nations, the European Union memberships, and so on?
Completely misinterpreted.
Complete misinterpretation. What did he mean?
That was the position that we took from the time of 2015, from the time Mangala Samarwira as the foreign minister,
Yeah.
who went and co-sponsored
Yeah.
a resolution
Yeah.
against us
Yeah.
and the Human Rights Council. We said the first opportunity we will withdraw it. We are not for it.
Yeah.
And you see, we had two
But
other.
the President was very clear yesterday. He
Yes,
was very stern.
what he said was, even right now, I feel that we should even withdraw the resolution which Mangala
But
brought in.
he didn't talk of withdrawing the resolutions.
Yeah.
He talked about withdrawing the membership of Sri Lanka from these organizations.
Yes, that's what I said. It's highly perhaps exaggerated what he said, or rather what we had in our terms of discussions and terms of reference for all these years.
Yeah.
That we will not say. I'll give you a couple of examples. Now this issue came because of the resolution that was brought in,
Yeah.
which was co-sponsored by us, the US resolution that brought in, and the very same people co-sponsored this withdrew from UN. Nikki Haley was the Secretary General then of the US UN organization.
Yeah.
And she made it, and she said that this is tainted with political coloring in her statement.
Right.
And said it's a cesspool of activities that are taking place. Yes, they withdrew from it. Right? Now, we felt that's the ideal opportune time for us to withdraw, but it didn't happen. So what happens is, wherever that they are going to sort of put pressure on us,
Yeah.
in a form like this,
Yeah.
that we will not stand that pressure.
But
Definitely.
withdraw, I mean, the United Nations is one of these organizations that have constantly called for inquiry and so on into alleged war crimes.
No, absolutely. That's exactly what we say. Now say
But surely the person, when the president is, this president certainly is very familiar with the English language.
Yes.
And he would have been completely aware of what he was saying. So there's no doubt about that. And he did, I keep going back to it, he did say we will withdraw. And so my question is whether we're going to withdraw from the United Nations. That has
No, I would like to say that what he said was any resolution of this sort,
Right.
which is against the government, which is against the soldiers, which is
Right.
against the forces,
Yeah.
right, that he would not stand.
Right.
Right. That is what I think.
Okay, so that's what he meant, because
Yeah.
it is obviously very worrying if we are to be told that Sri Lanka is going to withdraw from the United Nations.
No, I'm sure. Let me be fair,
Yeah.
right? This was working in the minds of the president all the time.
Of course.
Right, of this resolution, and then they've been taken, and then the Missing Persons Act, which coupled with all these things, right, and then the terrorists to be given compensation, and then quite a sort of complex affairs.
Indeed.
That came together with it.
Now, can we have an answer about what the President Party, you're all part of this, what is the stance on MCC?
Well, he has very categorically said that he is not going to sign it.
Yeah.
perhaps one might say, why don't you revisit and say that, these are the clauses that are detrimental and that are...
So are you all going to sign it or not sign it?
We're not going to sign it right now.
We're not going to sign it. Even though some people in your...
And I've heard few people saying that we're going to sign because there's $480 million.
Yes, because I was going to say, is the lure of the money too great?
Correct.
Because at the moment we need every dollar we can find.
We will have every dollar in a decent manner, not in indecent manner.
Okay.
Right? We will look for every single dollar,
right,
but in a manner where we will not let the side down, but still we will have our sovereignty in terms of national interest.
Many questions coming through. Thank you very much. 0772 300 305 by SMS only, please. Now then, many of these questions coming through. Now that the President has this very strong stance about the fate of our tri-forces, and clearly it is the President who leads the pride in our tri-forces, the people of our country and so on. But along with that concern and so on, what about the status of Sri Lanka's role in the use of peacekeeping troops for the UN? Considering also the unhappiness about the command of the army from the United States.
Sorry, I didn't get you. The peacekeeping forces were engaged in various areas
for the UN.
For the UN.
Yeah. What about them? On the one side, you're saying to the UN, listen, you don't tell us what to do, because
no, exactly, it's not so. This is what I say. This is all right. Because say for instance, the Nesby. Lord Nesby came out with the figures after a lot of research and getting all facts from the Home Department, Home Ministry itself, said that it's not more than 6,000. Right? When it said 45,000 and the 45,000 was stamped at the UN. So obviously these things has to be debated. These things has to be taken seriously. And you cannot just let them say, okay, this 45 and
would it be fair to say, Keria, that following the war, the Rajapaksa government failed in its bid to up the ante in terms of Sri Lanka's image? In spite of the millions of dollars, they kind of lost the narrative.
Well, I would put it this way.
The timing is bad, that's what I'm trying to say.
No. You see, what happens, it is not something that sprung off yesterday. It is something that happened after the 83 Black July, where the doors were open for everybody on asylum seekers. And those asylum seekers are today holding very strong positions in all parts of the world. And particularly, I can give you an example. Today, you can't have one of the most powerful positions in the United Kingdom, the London mayor's position. You cannot secure unless you have the diaspora support. So there are political compulsions. If you take Toronto, you have 272 Sri Lankan registered voters. You have my good friend Anand Sangari's son there as a member of parliament. Right? So there are political compulsions which revolves around all these statements and kind of pressure that is exerted.
My point about poor timing brings me to this other question, that in between the state of our economy, the suffering of the people right now, the suffering of the daily paid wage earners, 62% of the country are unskilled workers. In between all of this, it is absolutely remarkably poor form and timing to be told that the government, the government arm is spending 7.9 billion rupees on a cricket stadium.
Oh, come on. That's, yes.
So what is this nonsense?
It's a nonsense. It's nonsense. I'll totally. But what happens?
But whatever said and done, Sri Lanka cricket, whether we like it or not, it's the public's money.
Yes.
Right. So we have the president of Sri Lanka cricket, who is he joking? Has he missed the plot? Why don't you sack him?
You can't. It's by election.
No, well,
that's
the president can change.
You see, what happens is it's time that we have these Sports Act completely changed.
But surely the president must This is
not,
one point.
not even the president. Not even the
The
president.
president must make it. If he stands up and says, "No, you're not going to do this rubbish. Not now. We don't want another cricket stadium. We need."
I'm sure he might say that. Leave that alone.
I hope he does.
Yes. What happens is, as far as this cricket board is concerned,
Yeah.
I think I'm purely on clubs that are all over the countryside, which needs, I think, definitely a revisit to the constitution or the act, the Sports Act.
Well, yes, because there are full membership for
Yeah.
for paper clubs.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
not
Correct.
for real
You
playing
know
clubs.
that. I don't want to go into details.
No,
As you know, I mean, the whole country knows who are cricket lovers. All at least people who know. As far as that issue is concerned, let me just explain in very briefly.
Please.
Where Honourable Bandula Gunawadana is the member concerned for that constituency.
Right.
Right. He made a visit there, and he said that because 26 or 27 acres out of that whole complex has been requested by the cricket board. They have requested land. So very proudly, I think Honorable Bandula Gunawadana said, okay, he's willing to give the land. And I don't think he was aware where the money is coming from. And some parties said the ICC is going to fund it, but some people have now denied that, saying that all. But all that is, I think, irrelevant right now. It's just a statement. And we have we've definitely taken a backseat on that and say that, that's.
I think there needs to be don't you think that there ought to be a coherent policy, and so that the government is talking as one?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, 100%, right? And if you can remember, even at the last, whatever the debate that we had with some, we were talking about the communication.
Yes.
That's a lot of room for improvement in the government side. I agree with you on that. I think there's a lot of room for improvement on that area.
Because that's the area like the left hand doesn't know what the right.
That's very sensitive, right? Very sensitive. At the same time, it can go against the government. Any one slip of the tongue can go. Now, this one, what he meant was that he is willing to give the land in his own constituency. He'll be a very proud person within the constituency who have this cricket stadium. Of course, knowing that it's coming maybe another 6-7 years down the line. They're looking at I think they're trying to bid for 2030.
I think the real concern here is, apart from the timing, is that the stadium, for example, at Surya Weather, there was no contract. It was just done on the basis of some telephone calls. And when at the time the cricket board asked Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, then the Treasury Secretary, if they could please have 3.2 billion or whatever it was, he said, well, you could, but give me the contract. Where is the contract? I can't pay without the contract. They didn't have a contract. Then the state engineering people didn't have one, and nor did SLPA, the Port Authority. So it seems that the concern is driven by this sort of willy-nilly abuse of power. That's what it all amounts to.
Right. Okay. I am not aware, I cannot tell you exactly the figures and the cost and the manner in which it was worked and the contracts and things like that. All what I can say, this will be subject to the Auditor General, right? So I think there is certain scrutiny, and then there will be certain checks and balances on that basis. So hopefully that checks and balances should be there, and I won't deny that. I mean, I won't sort of say no, that it was done by our government, therefore these checks and balances should not come. There should be I'm sure that will be taken up in the court, and it will be taken up in the parliament, and then this will be discussed. And
but sometimes my frustration is that the Auditor General gets involved after the fact. That's the problem, because it's too late. The people's monies have been already expended.
Yeah. On the other hand, there is nothing you're going to see 100% perfect. That is why the Auditor General is there, right? Auditor General is not there to advise you in advance.
Yeah.
Auditor General is always there when an act has taken place, and
Yeah.
then there are complaints and somebody petitions or complaints, and he goes. Of course, these advices will have to be taken seriously and to make sure that this is not repeated.
Right.
So in your case, you were trying to say that that is done, and now there's another one coming up.
Well, it looks like that.
Yeah, right.
It looks
so,
like
so that's what I say. It is just at the very, very preliminary stages. So very fortunate we are, where the Auditor General can come in now and tell them, look here, this is not what. And also the political compulsions, as far as political compulsions are concerned,
Yeah.
certainly I'm 100% with you. There is no necessity and there is no hurry. Or if there is hurry, it can be I would say it's indecent hurry. So I would subscribe to.
It's a bit like those road contracts.
Road contracts are different, I think.
Well, yes, it's different, but Kelly, I'm talking about the timing. When people are struggling without money and so on, people are taking salary cuts, all sorts of bad things are happening. It's difficult then for them to sit down and say, wow, really? We're going to have all this highway to Kandy and
you see, it's not something that's not going to happen today, tomorrow, but there are certain regulations, certain, I think,
timelines.
time bars where you need to fit in.
We're nearly at the end. And I've got one question which I think has stood out amongst many of the others. Can the government give an undertaking in writing that they will not sign the MCC agreement? Can the president send a letter and tell the Americans, listen, chum, we don't want it?
I'll pass this on to the president. But as far as I know, president made a statement very categorically that he is not going to sign anything that will harm the country or the integrity of the country and the sovereignty of the country.
And somebody else wants to know whether you like Sri Lanka to be another North Korea without any link to the UN and so on and so forth.
Well, that's what I think I explained quite adequately as far as that part of the statement is concerned. We are willing to, we will never withdraw from any of those international organizations. We will be there, provided and with self-dignity, respect, and safeguarding the sovereignty. Wherever that has been infringed, that has been hampered, that has been interfered, we will stand right.
Do you agree with the call to remove politicians from the decision-making process involving the 5,000 rupee Samurdhi grant?
No, I think they should be there.
Really? Why is that?
No. You see what happens, I can explain my personal experiences.
Yeah.
Now, in certain divisions, Grama Sevakas...
You've got very few seconds, 30 seconds.
Right, okay. Government, the Grama Sevakas of divisions, sometimes are not aware of this, or rather, some of them needs explanation. Now, say for instance, a person is in a foreign country and they say he gets income, but the fact of the matter, the last 2 months they cannot transfer any money.
Right.
Now that sometimes you will have to talk to I never spoke to Grama Sevakas, but I spoke to the GA on few cases. I said go through it and see, and they found it. It is always, it's not a particular political party member. It's the political party elected members of all political parties
who know these things.
Not only who knows, I'm very sarcastic, right? But I think they are elected people.
Right, but we need to discuss this. We need to discuss this in depth. But we've run out of time. Kelly Ramakola, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
Thanks.
And thank you everyone for all the questions. Wonderful to have you participating in your program. Thank you, and have a very good evening ahead of you. And of course, as always, God bless.